Welcome to ClarkZapper.net. I'm going to help you build a zapper today. Inside this box you'll find a small baggie with parts. That's where all the resistors and the capacitors and LED and different parts will be found inside there. And then also inside this box is a breadboard. The breadboard is a little circuit board you can pop all your parts into. It's got letters across the top and numbers down the side, so it's as simple as following a grid. We also have an instruction sheet. So your kit comes with this little box of parts, the breadboard, and an instruction sheet. So we're going to build ourselves a 30,000 Hertz, 100% positive offset square wave frequency generator kit, which is basically a Hulda Clark zapper. Carefully take these out of the baggie. There we are. Now what I like to do is I like to separate them all into little sets. I would take the resistors, put them together over here. Then I would take the little jump wires, which are these colored wires, and set them in one pile. And these are the two capacitors. This is the red LED. And this is the 555 CMOS timer. Now, we're going to move on and start with diagram A. The supplies that are needed will be a breadboard, a 555 CMOS timer, jumper wires, an on-off switch, and the 9-volt battery connector. Now, this is the first part we're going to install into the breadboard. And you gotta know which end is top. The top has a little circle and a little bump. That's the very top. So that's how you know how to position your 555 CMOS timer. And that's the very first step of making a zapper. So it's like that's the top right there. Now once you've established the top of your CMOS timer, we'll put it into the breadboard. The breadboard, in my instructions, refer to the letters and the numbers. And so if the 555 timer will go in, the number 1 pin is at E8. So E8 is right there. There's E and there's the 8. So this top left pin goes there. So we have E8. So what you need to do is you need to push this into the breadboard so that the CMOS timer bridges this gap. So we have these legs. Now the legs of the CMOS timer are numbered. They're numbered, this is pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, and it jumps over this way to pin 5, pin 6, pin 7, and pin 8. Those are the way the pins are numbered, and we refer to the pins quite often. So I have an illustration here, and it shows you the same thing. Pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, pin 5, pin 6, pin 7, pin 8. And I even have a little dot to remind you that that's the top of the 555 CMOS timer. So once we have that in place, the rest is easy. We just follow the instructions. Because the best part is this is the only part that matters has a top or bottom. All the rest, it doesn't matter how they go in, as long as they go into the correct numbers and letters. This is the only one that has a specific position, and once we have that in, and we can see the little dot is on the top, we're in. Now, step 2 is putting in the jump wires. The jump wires are what connect all of the different parts. And so I start off with those. So the very first one will be a white jump wire. The white jump wire will go from E3 to the positive track. Here we have the breadboard. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the breadboard. Not only is the breadboard alphabetized across the top and numbered down this column, on the edge they have a positive and negative. Positive and negative. what we're going to do to keep this easy is we're going to put all of our negative into this side. And all of our positive are going to go over here. That way, it'll be easy to build. So, the very first thing is a white jump wire from E3 to the positive. So, we simply go E, 1, 2, 3, and then it needs to jump all the way over here to the positive. So you can push those into place quite easily. And I tell you, sometimes it'll help just to use a little pair of pliers to get them in. Easily get them into place. So here we go. There. There. Now there's the first jump wire. As long as it gets to the positive channel, this whole positive channel is connected. So any of these will do. You just get it over there. So as long as we got E3 over to this positive, that's correct. The very next one is a gray. Gray is going to go from C3 to C11. So here's a gray jump wire, and we're going from C3 to C11. So there's C3, and down here is C11. So if I go from C3, I punch this in all the way down here at C11. It'll fit into place really nicely. Now, what we've done is that 1, 2, 3, 4, that's pin 4. It's connected now because this channel here. Pin 4 is now connected to positive. That's how the breadboard works. You don't really need to know that. As long as you follow your instructions, you'll be fine. But just so you know, that's how we've connected pin 4 to the positive. Next, we have a little red. These little teeny red jump wires. It needs to go to A8 to the negative, to the ground. So, A8 is right there. And we need to go into the negative. And I'm going to use my pliers once again just to help me get it there. A8 to the negative. There we go. And I can push that into place. And after that we have another red. That's going to be J8 to positive. So we come down here. There's J. There's 8. We need to go to positive. Push those into place. I can use my needle nose. Force it in there. And there it is. So technically what we've done with those, this red jump wire has connected pin 1 to ground. This jump wire has connected pin 8 to the positive. Now we have a blue jump wire. The blue jump wire is going to go from D9 to D15. So first we find D9. D9 is right here by pin 2. And we're going to go to D15 all the way down there. Push those right into place. That one goes in easy. Don't need the pliers at all. Now we need an orange jump wire. The orange jump wire is going to go from E15 to F15. And that jumps this little gap. So here's right here, E15 to F15. This little orange wire will go across this gap. See how the breadboard has this gap that the timer bridges. Now this one crosses there. Now we have a green. Green's going to go to G10 to G15. So G10 all the way down to G15. Put that into place. And just so you know, I'll show you what the blue, orange, and green jump wires do. They're connecting pin 2, it's going down here, to here, up here, to pin 6. So pin 2 to pin 6 is covered by those 3 jump wires there. Alright, now, after the green one, we have one left, right here, the white. This last white goes from F17 to ground. So F17 is right there. So we have F, 17, and that's going to go to the ground, which is over here. So that needs to go there. Push those into place, and if you want to force them in all the way, you can kind of use the tip of your needle nose and just push them down like that. So there, that's the basic jump wire configuration. What we'll do now is that we're going to take the 9-volt battery connector and we're going to attach that to a prong on the switch. This can be twisted on or soldered on if you have like a soldering iron. This is probably the only part that you might want to solder is the switch. Now here is a tool that you need to know about. It's just a wire stripper. You can get this at any electric supply place. Wire strippers look like this, and sometimes there are even tools like pliers that have wire strippers in them. I prefer this little set. They're so cheap and easy to use. And so if you want to get a little bit more wire available, you can strip the wire with a wire stripper. Simple as that. So that's how you do it. You set this, see how the hole doesn't close? That way the wire doesn't get cut, just the plastic is removed. So now I have a longer wire. So I'm going to solder or twist the red wire onto the switch. So I'm going to put that right here in the middle. And I'll just twist it. And that'll create our connection for today. Now, you'll notice that there's one red jump wire that's longer than the other jump wires. You can use this jump wire to connect to the other part of the switch. So I'll straighten out the little end, make a hook on this with my pliers, and as I said before, you can connect to either one, it doesn't matter. So then you can just connect this, tighten it on. There. Now we have this connected to the switch. So this is the switch. I've connected the red wire of the battery connector. So this is your 9-volt battery connector. It's regular, just what you clip onto a 9-volt. It still has its black wire hanging loose. But I've connected the red one to the middle prong. And I've got this red jump wire that I've attached to one of the outside prongs. One prong is left unconnected to anything. Now the black end will slide into our negative row. So right here, this blue negative row on the left, we connect a black wire. Over here on the right, we're going to take our little jump wire that we attached to our switch, and we're going to push that into the red positive here on the right. So that way, when you look at it, you've got something like this going on. We're not going to attach a battery just yet, because we're not done building the zapper. But this is how it will connect, is that we've got the red wire going into the positive, we've got the black wire going into the negative, which is the ground. So far so good. There, now that we've finished diagram A, we can move on to diagram B. The supplies that you will need are your 1/4 watt resistors. You're going to need 2 1K ohm, you're going to need 1 2.2 K ohm, 1 39 K ohm, and 1 4.7 K ohm. Here are the resistors that come with the kit. And the way to tell the resistors apart is that they're all color-coded. They have 4 bands of color. And they all end with a gold band. And so pretty much what you do is you hold them so that the gold band is at the bottom, and then you can read what their colors are. A 1K ohm resistor is brown, black, red, and gold. There's 2 of them in the kit. There they are, the 2 1Ks. Then we have a 2.2 K ohm resistor, which is red, 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 gold. That one's very easy to tell, because it's all red except for the last band's gold. Then there's a 39 K ohm resistor, which is orange, white, orange, gold. That one's pretty easy to tell. And the last one, the 4.7 K ohm resistor, is yellow, violet, red, gold. The yellow is hard to see because it's almost the same color as the color of the resistor. But if you can tell the other ones, you know the last one is your 4.7. So if you look carefully, you can see the yellow band, and then a violet band, a red band, and a gold band on the 4.7. So that's how you tell them apart in the kit. The kit has that all written out for you as well. So that's that. Now, the next thing you need to know is how to deal with them. The resistors have a lot of extra wire so that you can cut them off to any length you need, but they tend to be a little bit longer than we need for this kit. So I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can cut these. Some people like to cut them so that they're perfect, that the whole thing lays down on the board perfectly, or you can just bend them like a hairpin and then cut them off even, and that's what we're going to do for this kit. So I'm going to show you that technique. You ready? Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you do is you hold your resistor so that the gold band's on the bottom, and you take the top wire and bend it downwards so that you have this hairpin kind of shape. But your hairpin's not going to be even. You're going to have to take your wire snippers and you're going to have to clip them even. And there it is. So now your resistor can go onto the breadboard and the wires are the same length and you can see what's there. You might want to shorten it, whatever you want. You might want to shorten it so that it just goes into the breadboard nice and snug. And it's about 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch. That's how much depth it goes to. So, this is a 1K ohm resistor, brown, black, red, gold. The very first step is that one, this 1K, goes from A2 to A10 on the breadboard. So from A2 to A10, we're going to make this resistor fit. So I'm going to put one end into A2, and I'm going to grab the other end of my pliers. I'm going to bring that to A10, right there. I'm going to push that in. And it's going to lay down just like that. So from A2 to A10, I now have a 1K ohm resistor. Nice and snug in place there. Now the next 1K ohm, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold it so that the gold's in the bottom. I'm going to bend the top over so it becomes a hairpin. I'm going to cut it even with about 1/2 inch of wire that'll fit into the breadboard. Once I've got this cut, the second 1K is going to go from G8 to J9. And those are kind of close together. So G8 is right there. And then J9 is right there. So your resistor will be standing up a little bit. Now if you want it to be perfect, you can always cut it until it fits perfect, but I always tell people don't cut too much at first because you can't lengthen it. So once that's in place, we'll move on to the 2.2 K ohm resistor, which is red, 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 gold. Here we have that. Now I'm going to fold this one down into a hairpin, and I'm going to cut it so that the legs are a little bit even. Now the 2.2 goes from B10 to B14. So B10 is right here, and then B14 is just below it. I'm going to use my needle nose again. And put that in place. And there we have it. So that resistor is now in place. Now, the next resistor will be the 39K ohm resistor, which is orange, white, orange, gold. This one has a little bit longer to travel, so I'm not going to cut it at all. I'm just going to put it in place. E2 to positive. So I will take the put it into E2, just like that, and I'll bring the other end over to the positive, just like that. There. Now, I can always go back and shorten this. Once I've figured out my length, and I'm happy with that, I can simply pull it back out, cut some off, and put it back in, and it ought to fit just fine. So like I said, E2 to positive. So E2, and we'll put this into positive. There. So now we have that resistor into place. Now, the last one left is the 4.7, which is yellow, violet, red, gold. And that one is going to go from G9 to J10. That's a very short distance, so I'm going to cut this one. Cut this one off. So it's just about a ½ inch. That goes from G9 to J10. So G9, right there, and then J10 right next to it. So we're going to put that into place, right there. There. And it's important to make sure that the wires aren't touching each other when they get close to each other. So just look around, make sure everything has plenty of space, that nothing's shorting itself out by overlapping or touching something next to it. And if it does, just kind of move it around so that things aren't touching each other. It's very simple. You can always go back and cut these shorter if you want them to be perfect, but it's going to work this way, and it's easy. And so, now, that's the resistor placement. That's diagram B. So you can compare diagram B to what you've done here, and then that's that. Now that we've finished diagram B, we can move on to diagram C. The supplies that are needed will be 2.0047 UF capacitors and 1 red LED. We're going to attach the 2 capacitors and the LED. Here they are. I'm going to show them to you. This is a 0.0047 UF capacitor. You get 2 of them. Here they are. The very first one is going from H10 to J17. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut about a ½ inch off this. I'm going to do it again. H10 to J17. So we have H10 right there, and down to J17 where I had it before. This is much easier with needle nose. Gotta have a pair of needle nose in your house. There. And that's a little bit more controllable. It's less likely to snag and pull out if it's shorter. Now that one's in place. We have one more. Now this one is going from H11 to I17. So I'm going to cut this one. It's about the same amount of space, so I'm going to cut this one down. And we're going from H11 to I17. So H11 is right there. H11. And then I17 is right down here. Put that into place, so. Now, with our little Zapper kit, we've got the red LED. This lights up to let you know when the unit is on and off. It's got 2 legs. One leg is longer than the other. Now, the longer end is positive. The shorter end is ground. So what I do is, I take the longer end, I kind of hold it, and I bend it out. See how I bent that? I held it kind of right about here, and I've bent it a little bit, and then I pinch it up here and bring it back. See how I've created this little zigzag? Created like a little angle. Now there's enough space to fit into my breadboard. And I know that this long wire is my positive. So, we're going to insert the short negative end of the red LED into the ground, and then the longer positive end goes to A14. So we have A14 right here, and then ground is over here. So we simply put the straight end into the ground and the bent end into A14, and that is our zapper. Diagram C is completed. Now that we've finished diagram C, let's move on to diagram D. Supplies that are needed will be 2 alligator leads, which are included, but you're going to need one 9-volt battery, which is not included in the kit. We've got 2 alligator leads. Doesn't matter what color they are. I have them this color just to make it easier to show you the positive and ground. Positive is usually red, ground is usually black, but the color doesn't matter, it's just plastic. Now, when you get your kit, you're going to have 2 alligator leads that have alligator clips at both ends. You're going to need to cut off one of each so that we have loose wire on one end. So, I'm going to cut this, I'm going to cut this, and discard these over here. I'm going to have to strip the wire like we did before. With this little space in the blade, I can strip this wire. So I can put it in there, hold it at a slight angle, pull. Put this in the hole, put it at a slight angle, pull. I'm going to take these and I'm going to twist them. Twist them real good. And this one I'm going to twist up real good. And we'll be able to insert these into the breadboard just like we did all the other parts. So that's what I'm doing. Twisted wire is a little bit more difficult to insert because it can kind of become untwisted. And so you want to twist them up real tight so that they stay in place. You might even want to use your needle nose pliers to insert them into your breadboard. But if you twist them up real good, you can trim them so that they're just about a 1/2 inch. Then you're ready to put your alligator leads onto your breadboard. Now, we'll start with the negative. The alligator lead you're going to use for your negative can be any color at all, but I'm going to use black just so it's easy. Now, this can go anywhere in the negative row on the left. See how we have our black battery wire is in the negative? We can push this into the negative row. And I'm telling you, you're going to need needle nose pliers for this. And grip it so just a little bit. And just feed it into the breadboard, into the negative row. I'll put it in here. You just feed that into the breadboard, like so. So now I have an alligator clip in my breadboard. Now the red one goes to B2. B2 is where the positive output is at on this circuit. So we find B2. B2 would be right there. And we're going to put this alligator lead, the positive, which is red, B2, slide that into place. Like so. Now, these alligator leads are used to clip to copper pipes if you want to use those as handles to your zapper. Copper pipes are sold separately, or you can get them at any hardware store. I'll show you the set right here. You can go to your hardware store. You can have them cut 2 4-inch lengths of 3/4 inch copper pipe. This is just standard copper pipe that's used for many of the different things. And you can go to any hardware store and ask for 3/4 inch copper pipe, and they'll cut it for you. 2 4-inch pieces. So we have that. And this is something you have to get on your own. It's not part of the kit. And here's another thing, a 9-volt battery. So, what you want to do when it's time, you feel like you've looked at all your parts, you've gotten everything organized here, you want to test that your zapper is okay. So making sure that nothing is overlapping, no wires are crossed, you feel like everything is visually okay. We're going to make sure that this battery connects to this correctly. You could burn out your zapper if you touch this incorrectly. If I touch this way, it could actually burn out the timer, and you might need a new timer. You'd have to pull this out and replace it with a new one if it stopped working. The timer is about the only thing that can burn out. So if your zapper doesn't work, you just have to check your connections. It might be that you've burnt out your timer if you've connected your battery wrong. But we're going to connect the battery correct. And see how the LED lights up? There. So my battery is on. Flip the switch. Off. On. So, my zapper looks like it's working correctly, but I want to be sure. You can go to any electronics place, a TV repair, or you can actually buy yourself a multimeter. This is what I have. Radio Shack sells a multimeter. This is the 22-811 Radio Shack digital multimeter. It has these probes that I've connected alligator clips to, so I can easily check if my zapper is working correctly. So you'll see right here that I can set my digital multimeter to Hertz, HZ. This zapper should put out 30,000 Hertz, and another way to read that is 30 kilohertz. The kilo meaning 1,000. So, if I turn my zapper on, and I take my red and connect it to the positive, positive to positive, take the ground, connect the ground to the ground, it should be really close to 30,000 Hertz. You can see that this one is 29.9 kilohertz. So you see that this thing is climbing up to 30 kilohertz. I don't know if the video can capture it, but it's KHZ. So we're almost at 30 kilohertz, which is fine. You want your zapper to be around 20 to 40 kilohertz. 30 is the standard, but anywhere 10 plus or minus is still fine. Electronic parts do vary a little bit, and that's where we get our variable. But this is a perfect zapper. It's putting out approximately 30 kilohertz, which is 30,000 hertz. I've tested it on my digital multimeter, and now I'm ready to use it as a zapper. I'm going to turn this off to save our battery. Now all of this comes with a kit, except for the battery and the copper pipes. That's the only thing you need to get beyond the kit. Is you get everything here, and if you want to get yourself a digital multimeter, these are about $50, or you could go someplace where they have one and just ask them to test your unit. You go to a TV repair, they'll gladly hook it up to their little meter and test its kilohertz for you. And that's that. You've now built a Clark Zapper. So thanks a lot for visiting us here at clarkzapper.net, and if you want to order a kit or a project kit just like this one, you can go to positiveoffset.com and get all the parts you need. Even if you mess something up, you can get a replacement part. So positiveoffset.com will take care of all your electronics needs, And if you want to be able to follow this video, just always come back to clarkzapper.net. You can have the instructions right here to help you through the whole process. Thanks for visiting us. Come back again soon.